May 1921. Formerly enslaved black people and their descendants are here in Tulsa, a boomtown of oil and opportunity and a new frontier. On the north side, across the rail tracks that divided the city already segregated by law, they built something of their own, worthy of their talent and their ambition. Greenwood, a community, a way of life. Black doctors and lawyers, pastors, teachers, running hospitals, law practices, libraries, churches, schools. Black veterans, like the man I had the privilege of giving a command coin to, who fought, volunteered and fought and came home and still face such prejudice. Veterans have been back a few years helping after winning the First World War, building a new life back home with pride and confidence. Where mom and there were at the time, mom and pop black diners, grocery stores, barbershops, tailors, the things that make up a community. At the Dreamland Theater, a young black couple holding hands, falling in love. Friends gathered at music clubs and pool halls, at the Monroe family roller skating rink. Visitors staying in hotels like the Stratford. All around, black pride shared by the professional class and the working class, who lived together side by side for blocks on end. Mother Randall was just 6 years old. 6 years old, living with her grandma. She said she was lucky to have a home and toys and fortunate to live without fear. Mother Fletcher was 7 years old, second of 7 children, the youngest being Mr. Van Ellis, was just a few months old. The children, former sharecroppers, when they went to bed at night in Greenwood, Mother Fletcher says they fell asleep rich in terms of the wealth, not real wealth, but a different wealth, a wealth in culture and community and heritage. But one night changed everything. Everything changed. While Greenwood was a community to itself, it was not separated from the outside. It wasn't everyone, but there was enough hate, resentment, and vengeance in the community. Enough people who believed that America does not belong to everyone and not everyone is created equal. Native Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, Black Americans, a belief enforced by law, by badge, by hood, and by noose that speaks to that lit the fuse. It lit it by the spark that it provided. A fuse of fury was an innocent interaction that turned into a terrible, terrible headline allegation of a black male teenager attacking a white female teenager. A white mob of 1,000 gathered around the courthouse where the black teenager is being held. Ready to do what still occurred, lynch that young man that night. But 75 black men, including black veterans, arrived to stand guard. Words were exchanged, then a scuffle, then shots fired. Hell was unleashed. Literal hell was unleashed. Through the night and into the morning, the mob terrorized Greenwood, torches and guns, shooting at will. A mob tied a black man by the waist to the back of their truck with his head banging along the pavement as they drove off. A murdered black family draped over the fence of their home outside. An elderly couple knelt by their bed praying to God with their heart and their soul when they were shot in the back of their heads. Private planes dropping explosives. The first and only domestic aerial assault of its kind on an American city, here in Tulsa. 8 of Greenwood's nearly 24 churches burned like Mount Zion across the street at Vernon AME. Mother Randall said it was like a war. Mother Fletcher says all these years later, she still sees black bodies around. The Greenwood newspaper publisher, A.J. Smitherman, penned a poem of what he heard and felt that night. And here's the poem. He said, "Kill them, burn them, set the pace, teach them how to keep their place. Reign of murder, theft, and plunder was the order of the night." That's what he remembers in the poem that he wrote. 100 years ago, at this hour, on this first day of June, smoke darkened the Tulsa sky, rising from 35 blocks of Greenwood that were left in ash and ember, raised in rubble. Less than 24 hours, 1,100 black homes and businesses were lost. Insurance companies, they had insurance, many of them, rejected claims of damage. 10,000 people were left destitute and homeless, placed in internment camps. As I was told today, they were told, "Don't you mention you were ever in a camp, or we'll come and get you." That's what survivors told me. Yet no arrests of the mob were made, none. No proper accounting of the dead. The death toll records by local officials said there were 36 people. That's all, 36 people. Based on studies, records, and accounts, the likely number is much more in the multiple of hundreds. Untold bodies dumped into mass graves. Families who at a time waited for hours and days to know the fate of their loved ones are now descendants who have gone 100 years without closure. But you know, as we speak, the process of exhuming the unmarked graves has started. And at this moment, I'd like to pause for a moment of silence for the fathers, the mothers, the sisters, sons and daughters, friends of God and Greenwood. They deserve the dignity and they deserve our respect. May their souls rest in peace. My fellow Americans, this was not a riot. This was a massacre.